Adding a domain in Office 365 is one of those key components and key tasks that we must perform to be able to receive mail and provide a contextual login to our users that reflects our company. Now, the setup tool is something that we looked at earlier in this course that provides our complete solution for adding and connecting our company to a domain, including the process of purchasing a domain. But what if I've already got a domain and I want to modify or transfer my domain to Office 365? Then I've got to go over here in my Office 365 Admin Center, and within the domains interface, I can add a domain. Now you notice here that I've got already my default domain that was created during my subscription to Office 365, and then I've got a domain that I added later on. If I have another domain that I want to transfer here, I need to click on Add Domain. From this point, I have 3 steps, which include the steps necessary to actually specify the DNS information for my domain. So let's say I own a domain called lynda.com. I'm going to add it here, click Next. And now I'm being asked to confirm the ownership of my domain. And the way that the ownership is confirmed is through a text record that's created in my DNS zone. So the DNS zone that's stored out on the internet and that contains all the naming information for my company is going to require a text record. And that text record will be verified to ensure that that is actually my company name and my domain name. So here I've got the instructions, depending on which internet provider I use, I've got a whole set of instructions specifying exactly how to do this. Anything from the login page up to the point where I'm actually going to create a specific record. And this is the information that I'll be adding to that record. That identifier, or that number, changes based on your company and based on you adding a new domain. So it's a unique identifier that then Microsoft will verify to ensure that that's actually yours. So I'm going to assume that I've done this, and then the verification will run. Now, obviously, I don't own the lynda.com domain, so the verification fails because I've not created that text record. I don't own the DNS zone for lynda.com, so I can't do that. If I own the DNS zone, I'd be able to create a text record that provides that value, and then the verification would be successful. Once the verification is successful, the domain would appear. Go back into my admin center under my domains, and then the domain appears right here. Now here it says start setup because the verification is not completed, but if it's done, setup complete and no action required. Now that just means that I've specifically added my domain, and my domain has been added successfully as a verification of ownership. Now the last step is to create the DNS records for my domain. So I've gone out and created the required DNS records that will give me the ability to receive email, have my users log in, and perform other tasks that are available from Office 365. There are several DNS records that must be created in your DNS zone to provide Exchange, Lync, and general Office 365 functionality. Important point to note, there are no specific records required for SharePoint Online. So Exchange Online has 3 specific records that we must create in order to provide 1, inbound email. So in order to specify that all email coming into the organization is actually going to be coming in to Office 365 if they're destined to elfassi.ca. That's our MX record, or mail exchanger record. We also need a CNAME for the Auto Discover service. We'll discuss the Auto Discover service in detail later on, but it provides the ability for your clients to actually find your service provider for Outlook for email clients out on the internet. We also need a text record. This one is used for SPF, or Sender Policy Framework. It's a method to identify who you are and ensure that the emails that you send out to the internet are not incorrectly identified as spam. Then we also need records for Lync Online. Those are used for SIP and SIP Federation, which is what allows you to communicate with external clients, messaging clients that are outside of your organization or outside of the Skype organization. We have additional CNAMEs as well, which are used for you to be able to log in from whether you're using a Lync client or a Lync mobile client. It provides the ability to discover your servers and gives you the ability to log in. Additionally, we have a general Office 365 record. Now you see from this interface that my records have been created. And those records had to be manually created within my DNS zone. And I may want to verify that those DNS records were created correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into my command prompt, and I'm going to verify my DNS record for inbound email. To do that, I'm going to use a tool called NSLookup. NSLookup will give you the ability to verify that specific records have been created in your zone. So I want to see if my MX records exist for which domain. Well, I'm going to go alfasi.ca because that's my domain. So here you see those records in details. You see the IP address of the servers that are responsible for all inbound email for the alfasi.ca domain. So if you need to view a little bit more information than what's available from this screen, you can use NSLookup as a verification tool to look at the details of your DNS records.